Hey everyone, Polaris welcome to part one of our Tamiya 124th BMW M635CSI. Everyone, Polaris welcome to part one of our Tamiya 124th BMW 635 MCSI. Everyone, Polaris welcome to part one of our Tamiya 124 BMW M635 CSI video build. We got there in the end. So yeah, I said I wouldn't do a video build or start on before New Year, but I started this just after Christmas. It's progressed pretty well. I had enough footage to do part one, and I thought, let's just start it, let's just get it out there. Because the quicker we get this done, the quicker we can move on to new projects. So, before we get going today, just have a little watch of this.
You subscribe to the channel. Make sure you click the little bell notifications, get notified of all our latest videos. Click the like button and leave a comment. I do read and reply to all the comments and appreciate everybody that takes the time to leave a comment on the channel. And of course, if you scroll up in the description, there's a link to a big long list of all the items I use in my videos. So if you see anything, you should be able to find it in there.
So yeah, if you know me, you know I'm a big old school Ford fan. Love my older Fords. I also love some of the older Beamers as well. E30 M3, absolute classic car. The M635 CSI, beautiful looking things. The 850s, stunning cars. I love them all. I mentioned building this in one of my bench updates, and loads of you said please build the kit. So I thought, okay, it's something that interests me. It's a cool car. I picked a nice colour for it, or I think it's a nice colour, and we got some rims for it as well. So I built the Jägermeister Motorsport car a while back. I'll put a picture up if I remember. Beautiful kit, came out really well. Very happy with that one. I've also got the white one. I can't remember if it's the M-Tech one. It's got like the engine and suspension decals on the side. Decals are shop, but I've got John Player special decals for that one. So that's another special project later on. And I want to do a road car. I've never done the road car. I found this one on eBay about 4 months ago for it's about £35 posted, and thought that's screaming for Alpina rims. So I went and bought the scale production rims for about £20 and yeah, this is where we are today. So it looks a pretty straightforward build. It's not a curbside kit, it's a full engine kit, so it's going to take, yes, I don't know if it'll be a 3 or 4-parter on this one. I'll know by the end of the next video. But yeah, it goes together pretty well. There's just a few things I need to check up on, and it's a suspension. But we'll get to that in the next part. So let's jump straight in, and let's start with a look through the box. Start today with a quick look through the box. See what we get. This is BMW's M635 CSI. It's a late 80s offering. It's still a good kit though. I've built the Jägermeister kit before, which is the same kit, although a little different. We've got some 18-inch Alpina scale production rims. Body shell, very nice. As you can see, it isn't a curbside. There's a full engine in this as well. It's nicely moulded. Minimal seam cleanup. It's pretty good. A lot of the seams are hidden in amongst the panel lines. As you can see, the front bumper is separate, as is the bonnet. We've got some chrome parts as well. Our interior and engine detail too. So it's typical moulded cockpit tub. We've got our seats there as well. Dashboard. There you go. There's our cockpit. So the rear seats are moulded in as always. Then got our clear parts, which are a bit unceremoniously loose in the packet. But I guess it's just one of those. So there we go. Nice, clear, good quality glass as always from Tamiya. Rear light lenses, etc. And then we've got the rest of the running gear, dashboard, the chassis, exhaust system, etc, etc. So not a bad kit for an older kit.
We'll have a bit of a better look at this. So the engine's there, not bad detail at all. We've got the original kit, wheels and tyres as well, but we won't be using these today. So they will go in the spares drawer for another occasion if they're needed. But for now, we need the poly caps, and the rest of it can go away as spares. So not a bad kit at all. Kit wheels are pretty nice. The kit chrome's not bad in places. The front bumper insert there at the top, we've got to try and paint. And it is chrome originally, but I think we'll go for, I think what BMW called the shadow line, which was blacking out all the trim. Typical Tamiya instructions, nice, clear, concise. There's quite a lot of work to do on this kit, but it's not overbearing or overpowering. It's pretty straightforward. And yeah, it's a nice build. I've done one before. Like I said, we've got the 18-inch Alpina rims. These are a classic wheel for any BMW. One of my favourite wheels, and they look good as well. Moulded in resin. Minimal cleanup. They should look good. So we'll start off with some cleanup of the bodywork. So remove the parts from the sprues. We'll cut the sprue locating points off. We've got a UMP 400 customizable, cut to shape, nice flat hard edge sander, and we're just taking off the edges of the sprue gate locator points and any flash or seams that need to come off. Doesn't need any pressure at all, just a light sand. Have a little look, make sure nothing's left behind, and then move on to a smaller one to get right in there should you need. So the customizables are very, very versatile. One of my go-to sanders of ours. Work very, very well. Same on the front bumper as well. We've got all the body to clean up as well as the front bumper insert, which is this, which is chromed. Not the best chrome on the bumper, so we're going to dechrome it, I think. So what we're going to do first is a seam all on the front. We're going to remove that first, because it's very easy to see while it's chromed. And obviously we can see where the chrome then goes missing, and we can see the seam. So we've got our 240 UMP grey sponge. And we'll just go around, remove that seam. And that's it really, pretty much all the cleanup done on the small parts. Mirrors have got a seam running around them as well, and there's a few seams on the body shell. Give them a quick go over with the sanders, hit them with the buffer, and once we key it all at the end, it's ready for paint. So we've got some normal household bleach, the cheaper the better for this. And we're just going to drop it in. Now I was hoping we're going to get one of those miraculous 30-second reactions. It didn't. It took about 10-15 minutes all in. So I just left it in one side. I was going to show one half done, one half the other. But because it took a bit longer, I just put it in there, forgot about it, looked at it, thought, oh, it's worked, spun it round, put the other end in, and we'll see it in a minute completely dechromed. So we've got panel lines that run front to back on the car. Most of them are hidden in the actual panel line gaps of the car. So very minimal removal needed. Be methodical here, make sure you get rid of them all. There's nothing worse than getting to paint or primer and seeing a seam line that you've missed. Again, the the customizable, proving very handy, as is the sponge thinny stick. Using the light, using our finger to check, and then getting the flat edge of the customizable into that rear bumper light insert. And we can get rid of those seams. Quite a quick cleanup on this thing, to be fair. Nice clean body shell for an older kit. Actually cleaned up really well. So as you can see, the customizer will get right in all those little nooks and crannies. And don't apply any pressure. Never apply any real pressure with your sanders. Let the sander do the work. Yes. People laugh at that. But it is. You are letting the sander do the work. You don't need to apply loads of pressure. The sander is abrasive. Little and often. Check it. Use your eyes. Use the light. Use your fingernail. When you're happy you've got rid of the actual seam, come in with your actual sponge sander to make sure you don't round off any edges. As you can see, the seam goes right on the back all the way down, so we've got several little points to pick up. But like I say, for an older kit, it's actually pretty clean. It's not too bad at all. Once we're happy all the seams are gone, we've got our 240 polish and sponge. These should be released imminently from umpretail.com, and they are ideal for key and bodywork. Sanding any large areas, they're just absolutely perfect, a perfect grit. Once they've worn down a little bit, they're absolutely beautiful. They can form around edges. They're nice and smooth. It really is made for this job. I like to key all my bodywork. A lot of people say you don't need to key, but yeah, I kind of follow the guidelines of full-size car painters, and I key my bodywork for primer, whether it be lacquer, acrylic, water-based, alcohol-based, whatever. I will key the entire body, and all we're doing is we're scuffing the surface to give thousands of little micro scratches for the paint to adhere to. And I never had any problems with paint lifting or peeling or not adhering to the bodies, because I take all these steps along the way. It takes about 2 minutes to go over the entire body with this. It's nice and quick, and all we're doing is removing the shine off the body. Now here's our front bumper. I'm going to call it the insert because it's the top of the front bumper. On the real car it's body colour, chrome, then black, but we're going to black out on this totally. First of all though, we need to do the body colour. So we're going to have to prime it, then paint it, and the colour I've chose is Polaris Silver, which we'll see in a little bit. So all the body shell has been prepped as usual. We've had a toothbrush in all the seams. We've had some UMP cleaner on the body. We've done the anti-static brush over the top to remove and hopefully keep any dust off it. We've got our UMP black primer here. We've got our UMP Apex at 25 PSI, 0.35 needle. Just having a little bit of a tidy up there. So there's our primer. Make sure you shake the living bejesus out of it. For a generous amount in the cup, give it a test spray, and then we're going to apply 3 or 4 light coats all over the body. It might look like I'm putting a lot on, but the more you use this, the more you'll get to know how much you can put on without getting any issues. And because we cleaned all the body up, we know there's no residue on there, no fingerprints, no oil, no grease. I'm pretty confident we'll have no issues, so I'm happy to put it down a little bit thicker than maybe you might out there. If you've got any doubts at all, or you're not too sure, fine, light coats will do. But for me, I've been using this for years. It's one of our products. It's a very well established product, and I know exactly how far I can push it. So if you'll notice, I'm not putting a full wet coat down. It's not quite covering in one go. If you look that side, you can see it. I know exactly how far I can push. My cave, my modelling workshop's nice and warm. It's always around 23 to 25 degrees C. So it dries nice and quick. And you can always use the airbrush to help dry it as well. But we're going to go around with several coats. You can see I'm cleaning the airbrush every now and then, getting anything off the tip. We don't want to spit any paint on there. Just periodically take the brush off the model and give it a blast onto a bit of paper. And any paint that's collected will get blown off. So obviously we've got the engine bay to do on this. We've got all the windows, every recess, every little gap, all those lights. We're just making sure we get most of it covered, all the wheel wells. So there's coat number 1. I think this is about coat number 3 now, I'm going to guess. We're just drying it off. There we go, clear our airbrush, and we're coming with coat number 3. Once you get a decent coat down, you can start coming a little bit heavier. Now, there are a couple of sink marks on the boot lid of this, or the trunk. It's from the racing version, which has the fuel fillers in the back. Can't really see it in the bare plastic to my naked eye, but as soon as you get a bit of primer on it, it becomes a little bit more noticeable. You can see them on the back now. They're like an oblong shape. There's 2 of them, one either side. When this is wet now, it might show. But it is what it is. It's just one of those things. I could spend hours sat there, Bondo filling it, putting filler in, smoothing it. And if you want to do that, by all means. For me, I'm not in it for all that malarkey. I'm in it to build models and enjoy building them. So, onto our bonnet or hood. That's a generous coat. We're mounted on an old UMP primer bottle. And then this has been left overnight. And we've keyed it again with some 1200 micro mesh. And we're in here with our Zero Paints Polaris Silver. Now, I'm going to admit, I've given Zero Paints a little bit of a, not a bad rap, but they're not my favourite paints. They're very, very hot. And on the metallics like this, the pigments have always been huge, like ridiculously big. The last 2 models I've built, and they're the first bottles of Zero Paint I bought in a good 12 months, have both been very, very good. I have to admit, I've had no issues at all. They've not been hot, even when I've hosed them on like a test spoon or inside the car, which I will do from time to time in a spot it won't be seen, just to see what it does. And the pigments on this paint are absolutely perfect. They're beautiful size. And yeah, I hope this carries on across the range, because I've got some of the metallics and the pigments are huge. They're almost unusable for me. And that's just me giving my honest opinion. It's not a slight on anyone in particular or for any reason. I say how I see it. It's as simple as that. But this went down fantastic. This is the first coat. We're at 22 psi. We've got a 0.35 needle through the apex. And yeah, first coat's covered absolutely fantastic. And when I start to do the inside of the A, B and C pillars, I'll pick an inconspicuous part of the body and I'll hose the paint on, just to see if it crazes and reacts, but it didn't at all. So we applied about 5 light coats of this all over. You can see the sink marks on the boot lid, unfortunately. It's just one of those things. So yeah, I applied 5 coats of this, light coats. Don't hose it on, even if you're confident it won't craze, still don't hose it on. Just like mist coats, you can see there, I'm crossing over with each coat. I'm just getting an even coat all the way along that. And it'll build up slowly and you'll get a nice deep paint finish. But this colour went down great. The cherry red AH3 I did for the R32 went down absolutely beautiful. No problem at all. So I hope this continues for the rest of the paint. And there we are. That's after several coats. We've got a nice metallic silver. The pigments are not too large. They're actually really nice. So yeah, top marks. Very happy with that colour. And we barely used any of the paint at all. Probably not even a fifth of the bottle. Maybe not even a sixth. Very, very little. So yeah, very impressed by that. So we've got Alpina rims now. These are resin. Now, while I'm not saying you have to clean plastic parts, resin parts will inherently always need to be decontaminated, we'll call it. They always have a release residue on them. They are very greasy, and these are especially greasy, which moves us on to our primer in a minute. So we've got some UMP cleaner, a toothbrush, we get a cotton bud in there, wipe them dry, we blow some air through them with the airbrush to blast out the airbrush cleaner, and we just dry them all off, leave them to air dry for an hour or so, and then we can come in with primer. But yeah, these wheels are especially greasy. So quite a lot of release agent on these, which made me think of primer to use. Now, colour. We've got a silver car and we need silver wheels. Now, I didn't want the 2 silvers to be the same. I wanted 2 opposing silvers. So we wanted one probably a little bit brighter than the silver on the car. So these are our rims. They're all mounted up on Mr. Hobby mounting sticks with crocodile clips, I suppose we could call them. And we have my spoon collection. Now, a lot of people laugh at these spoons, but I'll tell you now, this is where they come into their own. So these are various metallic colours across the board, from Tamiya TS, LP, AK Extreme, Mr. Hobby Super Metallic, the whole shebang. Any metal colour I test, I keep the spoon, and it's always here as a reference. And I can look at each one, sprayed on plastic, sprayed on black primer like I always do, and look exactly how it's going to look on the plastic. This is invaluable. If you get a new paint, buy some cheap spoons and just do a test spray of it. So after looking through, I finally decided on Tamiya LP48 Sparkling Silver. It's a nice shiny silver. It contrasted well against the Polaris silver, and that is what I went for. So here we go. We're in the spray booth. We're going to prime these up. Now, I would normally use UMP primer, but because these were especially greasy with the release agent, I decided to go with a lacquer primer just to give it its best hope of adherence. So we've got some Mr. Surface of 1500 black. So this has been thinned about 70% with Mr. Leveling Thinner with retarder. We're going to get to several light coats and get them all primed up. Just give them a final quick dusting over at the end. It's probably about 3 light coats. It's getting the angles on these that's the issue. So yeah, give them 3 light coats. They're left to dry for at least an hour. For me, I tried to leave things 12 hours. I think I left about 5 on these. And then we've got our Tamiya LP48 Sparkling Silver. If you've not tried the LP paints, I highly recommend you do. They are by far one of my favourite paints. Absolutely amazing colours. Very well pigmented. They spray like a dream. They are lacquer based, so they do smell a little bit. If you saw that then, I checked my lid. I thought the paint looked a little thin. And if I have pre-thinned a bottle and say put it back in, so I've thinned more paint than I think, I always put a cross on the top of the lid. So I was just checking that, but it is very thin. We've got some of the standard Tamiya lacquer thinner, no retarder in this. You want the metallic flakes to dry pretty quick, because the theory is they sink a bit more in the retarder and it isn't as shiny. Whether that's true, I don't know. But anyway, so we've got our UMP Apex airbrush, 0.2mm needle. We're at 18 psi. As you can see, the coverage off this is phenomenal. It looks like I'm putting a lot of paint down. I'm not really. There's not a lot going through. Lacquer paints are a lot thinner than normal water-based or alcohol-based acrylics. And the coverage off these is absolutely fabulous. It really is good. So again, the important point on this is to grab all our angles. So you'll notice I'll spin the wheel of my fingers to get all the angles. And once we're happy, probably 2-3 light coats. We'll leave those to dry overnight. And here we are the following day, putting our Alpina emblems in the centre of the wheels. Now, these are a little bit fiddly. Not the best decals. But to be fair, once they were wetted and put in place, they were not too bad. So it's important to get them centered. These are the center cap emblems. The silver is beautiful. Very happy to choose this colour. So we put it in place. We dried it off with cotton bud. We put it to one side for a little bit. Make sure they're all centered. If they're not, now's your time to move them before any of the decal adhesive takes hold. Once we've got them all done, we'll hit them with some ultimate strong decal solution I think we used on this. And we'll set them all in place. Now, wash. I didn't want to go fully black on the silver, so we've got some Tamiya grey panel liner. I'm just going to put a few drops of this into one of our ultimate paint cups. And then we're going to grab some of the black, add a few drops of black to get a nice dark grey colour. If you go straight black, I think it can look a bit too stark, is that the right word? Black on the grey, silver looks a bit dark. So just lighten up a touch, get a dark grey instead of black. And it can really tone down the wash effect while still giving you the full wash effect that you're after. So there we go, we've got the brush out. We didn't wipe it off, so we've got a nice generous dab of black. And there we go, we've got a nice dark grey. It's not quite black, but it's a nice dark grey colour. It'll always dry slightly lighter than it looks. And all we do is touch it to the panel line. You can see the capillary action carries it around the body. And we want to put this in every single recess. All on the doors, door handles, any panel lines. Anywhere and everywhere you can get a wash in, pop it in. Just touch it, let the capillary action carry it. Let it dry. And I always find, come back in for a second go over, because it can dry a little light otherwise. So I like to come back, apply it again. 5-10 minutes later, let it dry, and then wipe it off with a cotton bud moistened with some odorless mineral spirits. So again, it's being methodical. Make sure you get this everywhere you need it. Don't miss out a point or get halfway along a panel line, because it will be visible when it's cleared. And more importantly, and something that's caught me out many times, when you're at this step, make sure you get rid of every bit of excess wash. Because there's so many times I've put the tack code down at 2K and spotted a little bit of wash I haven't quite removed. And it's almost soul destroying to think, no, because there's no going back from it. So get the majority off with your cotton bud. We've got a little bit of Winsor Newton sand soda there, which is odorless mineral spirits. And we're just very lightly rubbing along. Now, these are enamel-based products over lacquer. So as long as you're not a ham-fisted buffoon, you shouldn't get any problems at all. Just be careful of all the edges. Don't rub the paint off or rub through it. And what we're trying to do is just get rid of all the excess panel line wash or any dots where we touched it on. But I will tell you now, once you've done this, put it down, pick it back up 10 minutes later and have a full inspection of all those panel lines. Because I'll almost guarantee you'll find one point that you've missed. I do it all the time.
you kind of get blind to seeing it. Have a little look later on, and now before 2King, I again pick the car up and have a full inspection of all those panel lines to make sure we are fully covered. Now off camera, we've also decaled this. There's only 4 decals on the car. 3 of them are on now, and 1 will go on later. So we've got 2 BMW logos front and rear, and an M Sport logo on the back for now. We also have 1 to go on the front grille. The kit decals are absolutely toast, so these were pilfered out of my spares. So if you do get this kit, just bear in mind the decals may be shot. You may have to find alternatives. Now we've got a Gravity Colours 2K Clear Co here from Spain. We've got 6mm of the clear in the medicine cup already. We're now adding 2mm of the activator hardener. Once the activator's in, you give it a good mix up. Probably go a little bit cloudy to begin with. The more you mix it, the clearer it will go. So just give it a good 5-10 second stir. And then again, throw that pipette away. And then we get our thinner and a fresh pipette, because you don't want to contaminate the bottles. If you put hardener in the thinner or vice versa, you will ruin them. So keep them all separate. Fresh pipettes, 2mm of the thinner in the mix. And always mix the hardener and the clear before you put your thinner in to start the chemical reaction off. And again, we give it a real good mix up. And there we go. So that is 6mm of clear, 2mm of hardener, 2mm of thinner. Now, I will admit, I did run out at the end of the very last coat before I got back to the bodywork panels, like the bonnet, the bumpers, etc. And I had to mix a little more. Because the panels are separate, you do tend to use a little more paint. So bear that in mind. There's those sink marks on that boot lid, which is really annoying, but never mind. We've got our Tamiya anti-static brush, and as you've seen, we've just run the 2K clear through one of our 190 micron paint strainers as well, just for safety set. I'm assured by Antonio Gravity that all the paints are strained, and I believe him, but I like to do it myself anyway. So our tack coat, we've got our UMP Apex 0.35 needle at 24 psi, and we're going to pop our tack coat down. So this is just a fairly light non-wet coat all around the body. We'll let that dry for 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and do our wet coat as a second one. Semi-wet coat, I call it, not a full for the second one. Wait 10 minutes again, and then come back for our full wet coat. As you can see, the kitchen paper in the booth has been moistened with some water in a spray bottle. That way, any dust that lands should get stuck to the paper and not end up in your clear coat. Once the first coat is down, we'll pop it in our box and cover it up with a little gap. And then we'll deal with the engine, bonnet or hood. We've got our front bumper to deal with, and the insert and the mirrors at the same time as well. So 10 minutes has gone by. I forgot to hit record on the second coat. I do apologise. So we've had our second coat go on. This is our third one now. Now this is our full wet coat. At the end of this coat, when we look at the finish under the light, this is basically what we will get when it's dry. So we don't want to see any orange peel. If you see orange peel, you probably need to put a bit more clear down, because this stuff will self-level. But it's a fine line between getting it right and getting too much on. Because this is silver and white are especially hard to paint on, because you can't see the 2K going down as much. You need to be very careful you don't put too much down. So use the light, angle it to make sure you get even coverage. And like I say, as long as you can't see any orange peel, you're pretty much sorted. Like I say, what you see here now is basically how it will dry. So the second coat we put down, which is the one before this, just not confuse anybody, I class it as a semi-wet coat. It's not quite as wet as this one, but it's just to get a bit more coverage, and then we let that tack up for another 10 minutes. That goes ultra sticky and then allows us to put this wet coat down without getting any runs. So that's our third coat done. We've done the engine cover, the mirrors, etc., all off camera as well. And I'm just inspecting it round in the light to make sure I've got even coverage everywhere, and then I'm happy with the finish. And as you can see, I've got my little homemade boxes that hold the Tamiya stand in there perfect. We've got some vents in the side. We'll clip it in just to move out of the way for now, and then we'll come back. This is probably 5 hours later, just to have an inspection of how it looks. Now, as I say, I always put my 2K down a little bit thicker, just so I've got plenty of meat to deal with when we come to sand it, because you then always get dust in there. No matter how clean you think your room is or spotless, a speck of dust will always land in there. We've got several in the roof, a couple in the boot lid on this, but it's not too bad. Pretty easy to deal with. But that Polaris silver's come out absolutely stunning. Really happy with that. This will stay in the box now for about 5 days while we work on the rest of the car. There we go then. That's where we're at today. So we're all cleared. Wheels are painted. The wheels are clear coated as well. We put some Mr. Hobby UV super clear over them. They've all dried now. So that body can sit in its case for 5 or so days off gassing, and then we can come back and get it all flatted and polished up to hopefully a reasonable finish. So yeah, the next part we will cover all the running gear and the engine, and this will tell us whether it's going to be a 3 or 4 parter, and then we've got the interior to do, and then assemble it all as well. But it's a pretty straightforward kit, even though it's an older tool Tamiya. It's a great kit to build. So yeah, that's it. So the quicker we get this one done, which is why I started a bit earlier. I said I was going to do new videos before New Year, but here we are. The quicker we can move on with other projects, because we've got one which I kind of showed, it's up there, and I went into some aftermarket bits and bobs for it that is maybe going to be the next one or the one after, but we'll discuss that in the bench update, because I've got quite a lot to chat about my next bench update. I've got my future video builds, we've got future GBs on the Facebook page, and we've also got the Ferrari build to look back on as well. I have a bit of progress on this too, but that'll be after New Year. Speaking of New Year, New Year's Day, there'll be another very short bench update, which will announce the winner of our 50,000 subscriber giveaway. If you've not seen the video, go and watch it. It's the last video I put before this one. And we rolled over 50,000 subs on the channel, and we were giving away a £100 UMP gift voucher and a new Lancia Delta toe tip rally car as well. All you got to do is go watch the video, the comments in the video below. Facebook doesn't count. People are commenting on Facebook and it doesn't count. You've got to comment in the video, and I'll do a live, well, not live, but I'll do a random number generator and I'll count down the numbers in there. So make sure you should go and do that. You've only got till New Year's Day, which is Friday, I think, to do that. So you've got a few more days to get that in, and someone very lucky is going to win a nice prize. So hopefully part 2 of this won't be too far away. It's quite a lot of work to do, and I'm kind of hoping we get all the suspension, the ring gear, and the engine done. And like I say, I need to look at the suspension in the motorsport car, because I think it sits a bit lower. I think it's going to look better, so I may pilfer the other kit. Don't know yet. I will see. We'll play that by ear, and we'll look at that in part 2, which hopefully will be up as soon as I can get it there, over the next week or so probably. But there we are. So let me know your comments down below, your thoughts, or anything you want to say, pop in the comments below. I do appreciate all the comments. Please don't ever think, oh, I won't comment. I really do appreciate any feedback, and I do reply to everyone, although I don't think I'll be able to reply to everyone in the giveaway video, because there's over 400 people in there have commented, which is like 5 times more than we normally get. So I'll try my best, but I don't think I'll be able to reply to all those. But in the bench updates and the build videos, I certainly do try and reply to everybody. There we go. So check out International Scale Model Facebook page, umpretail.com, where you can get a lot of the products I use in my videos. In the description of this video is a link to everything I'm talking about now, and a link to a big long list of products of everything I use in the videos. So if you see me using a brush, or a cutter, or a sander, or a paint, there'll be a link. It'll be in the link down below, more than likely. Check out my Polaris modeling page on Facebook and Instagram. And check out the Live the Bench page for the live show, and the Off Air Hangout group to join our Off Air Hangouts. I will see you on New Year's Day. Stay safe over New Year. And I'll see you in about a week or so for the next part of this. So take care, everybody. Bye-bye.